the super wealthy, the people who are in the controlling powers of the world, not a single one of them have their primary residence in a metropolitan area. Isn't that amazing? They know something. And I hope you're getting the information now also. They all, they may have their penthouses in New York and Washington, but their primary residence, every one of them live in a rural area. But my next statement is going to surprise you. The elitists are not survivalists. Now you say, but chaplain, if the elite know what's going to happen, they understand what tomorrow is going to bring, and it could be catastrophic events, then why haven't they made preparations for survival? Oh, you see, since they know what's going to happen tomorrow, they know tomorrow how to do what's necessary to do, where if you wait until after the currency has already collapsed, or you wait until after someone has bombed a few more, like they did in, or I should have said, flown airplanes as they did in 9/11. You see, you wait until after the fact because you don't know in advance what's going to happen. The elite know ahead of time exactly what's going to take place, and therefore they don't have to do what you and I have to do in the way of making preparations for these things. Have you ever wondered why so many of the elitists, and I'll name two at this point, by the way, have you ever wondered why they live to a ripe old age? One of the elite of the elite would be George Herbert Bush, Daddy Bush. And another one, if I could name them, would be Mr. Henry Kissinger. They're in their 80s, still healthy. Why do these men live to be at such an age? They know some things you don't know. But some things I'm going to tell you today, you will need to view all of these DVDs, because some things may be more important to you toward the end than they are now. As a result, I have chosen 4 people to help me with this presentation. I knew that it would take some professionals in different fields in order to do it. The Lord led us to one gentleman by the name of Tom Fowler. He's a Wall Street insider. He could walk out the front door of his office on any given day when he was on Wall Street and look up at the Twin Towers before they were destroyed. Some of the things that Mr. Fowler is going to say to you, you'll find them fascinating. You'll have to concentrate. I mean, he gives an approach such as I'm giving, except he dealt with the insiders from one source. I dealt with them from another standpoint. Then I chose Pastor David Bowen. He was a Hollywood playwright at one time. And as you know, Hollywood is their perversion, and the national liberal media is their mouthpiece. You've probably heard me say that on radio shows. And he dealt with them from that standpoint. You're going to find what he has to say very fascinating. Mark Johnson, he's going to deal with a subject that I have never heard a definition of that I was satisfied with. You must hear about derivatives. Derivatives could, at any point that they wish to pull the plug, bring the entire financial system, both Europe, America, the Middle East, I care not what part of the world it is, the Orient, it could bring the entire world to a collapse tomorrow morning if and when they're ready for it to. Maybe some have never even heard of the derivatives, but you're going to hear them now. Then Rodney Balance. You've seen him before with me in a DVD series. You will hear what he has to say. In 1980, when my book, The Energy Non-Crisis, came out, and I say this very modestly, and I say it to God's glory, not to mine, because here I was, just a little lowly missionary flying airplanes out in the bush of Alaska. I became famous overnight. I'm not a person that enjoys the limelight, but I gained renown that took place very rapidly. I at times from 1980 to about 1985, I would do 2 and 3 radio shows per day. People were hungry to know about the energy crisis and how much crude oil we have. I averaged crisscrossing America from East Coast to West Coast on the average of every other week by aircraft, commercial. I was speaking day after day in cities all across this land. We were having marvelous audiences. It wasn't unusual back in those days. Can't do it today, of course. The internet, people, that's about the thing they pay most of the attention to. But back in those days, they would come out to a rally. And it wasn't unusual to get 300, 500 people in small towns, in big cities, wherever it may be. We had as many as 10,000 people. The largest rally we ever had was in the Salt Dome in Salt Lake City. And because of this renown, there were some people who were watching me, and I didn't know they were there. You never know who's in your audiences. And a group came to me one day, and they said, "Chaplain, we would like you to help us." I didn't have the slightest idea. I knew they looked like businessmen. They were well-dressed. They were well-spoken. And they said, and you need to understand this expression, I think, that they used back in those days. "Chaplain, we would like you to help us get some people out to our seminars." And I said, "Well, what kind of seminars are you speaking of?" Now, keep in mind, they'd been in my audiences. They were seeing the number of people that were there. And they said, "Will you come in contact with a lot of people?" They said, "We have teaching seminars on the lifestyle and the methods of the elite." Well, I said, "That's interesting." I lived with them for 3 years. And I have the personal phone numbers of a few of them. I wonder if what you're seeing or what you're saying and what I saw are the same. They said, "Well, here's what we'd like to do. Whenever you find people in your seminars that you think might be interested in being trained in the secrets of the elite, would you be willing to introduce them to us?" I said, "Well, first of all, I have to find out what you're teaching." So they said, "Okay, we will buy your airline ticket. We'll pay all of your expenses to our resort in the Bahamas, and we'd like you to come out and see." I was amazed. I did. I took them up on their offer. I've never been afraid to go places and meet people. And so I did. Beautiful. Private beach. Oh, you've never seen such facilities, such food. And I stayed there for a week. And I heard some of the most renowned speakers that you could possibly imagine explaining the insides, the inner workings of the social elite, how they do what they do. I have never told this story before. And I must admit to you that I haven't told it because, not of fear, but out of respect for my elitist friends who are now retired in their 70s and 80s, and I felt that I should only wait until these men had gotten to the place that they could say what one said to me recently. As many of you know, one of my elitist friends passed away a year ago. Some of you have heard me give his name on radio shows. And before he died, he basically said to me, he said, "Chaplain, I'm too old to care. Just go ahead and tell the world everything." Well, at that point, I decided I would. And I have told some things. But there are many things I have never told until today that you've never heard until this DVD series. And the things that I saw these people teaching in these seminars at this fabulously beautiful resort in the Bahamas was exactly what I had heard the elite talking about. The very things that they said they would do. You see, they make the laws. There's not a single bill that goes before Congress that is not written by the elite. They know what the bill's going to be before it ever gets there. The congressmen don't. Very seldom does a congressman ever read an entire bill. Practically never does a president of the United States of America ever read a bill that goes before Congress, and he signs it. And the congressmen sign it. Who wrote it? I know who wrote it. I heard them talking about these things. When they were talking about what the elite do and how they act. And I was fascinated. And so I told these people, I said, yes, I'll be glad to do that for you. I said, I know some people that need to understand the inner workings of the elite, and I wanted to know myself. And so they said, okay, if you'll be willing to recommend people of class and quality that you think could understand these things and it will be helpful to them, we'll be glad to pay all expenses for you every other month to come out and be with us at our seminar in the fabulously beautiful Bahamas. And I did. For about 2 years, every other month, I spent a week at their resort. I remember one day, the airline strip, or the aircraft strip that was right close to the resort, I happened to have gotten off the plane that I had flown out in commercially, and not many airplanes landed on the strip like that. It was very private. And all of a sudden, a 727 Boeing aircraft flew in, large jet. And I waited to see who was getting out. And the gentleman who was sponsoring the seminar that week happened to be standing beside me. And he said, you know who those men are? Two of them. Here, this big 727 jet, now like you fly on when you fly with commercial airliners. And the side door hydraulically went down. And he said, Owens Corning are the large corporations of America. And two of their executives got out of the aircraft. You see, the secrets of the elite are known by every congressman. The secrets of the elite are known by federal judges. The secrets of the elite are known by a few lawyers, but you don't know them. They don't want you to know them. They train their young elites as to their thought patterns and their mindset and how they should do things. And as soon as a person arrives in Washington, in Congress, I'm going to tell you some of the things they're taught. And you're going to find some very surprising things in the course of all of this. Every president of the United States of America is briefed on these things. And very soon they realize where they stand. I'll give you a statement. You can find this one on the internet for yourself. This statement was made by Lloyd Blankfein. He is the boss at Goldman Sachs. And this statement was made to the Sunday Times of London, England. And he said, bankers do God's work. Did you catch that? This man said to the London Times, Sunday Times, bankers do God's work. These people think that they have a right to do what they're doing. They are fully convinced that you and I are dumb, stupid, don't understand what they're doing, and most people don't. And that's one of the reasons I'm producing this DVD series, because I don't want you to be ignorant of what the elite are doing. I want you to be knowledgeable of what's happening. And the only way that you will overcome the New World Order is to be knowledgeable as to how they carry on everything that they do. You might call this a mini college education in some fashions. It was 1976. We had finished the service at Arco Base that night, and the men moved out of the way, and for some reason, the senior executive on duty that week had attended the service and was sitting with us, I'll never forget, in the movie hall of all places at Arco Base. And we just sat there and talked a few minutes. I guess he wasn't too busy that evening. And in the course of the conversation, he said something. He said, AT&T is going to be declared a monopoly. And wait a minute. Now, think back, folks. 1976, there was only one telephone company in America. It was American Telephone and Telegraph. If you wanted a phone, if you wanted communications, if you wanted long distance, you went to AT&T. There was no other. Now, how did he know it was going to be declared a monopoly? It had already been decided behind closed doors. He already knew that Congress would do exactly what they wanted and would declare it a monopoly. Not only that, but they had a reason. The elite wanted to declare AT&T a monopoly.
Mami.
After all, AT&T has been in
Me dio diarrea de nuevo. Me dio diarrea de nuevo.
They were well financed.
Fernando, salga.
The elite don't make money when companies don't have to borrow money from them. They declared, and you'll find this in my book, Energy Night Crisis, by the way. Please go to Amazon Kindle and get the book. You'll see it for yourself. It was recorded in 1980 when I wrote the book. Before AT&T was ever declared a monopoly, they knew it. What was going to happen.
Yo no sé qué será.
Why did they do it? Because when AT&T was declared a monopoly, that meant that other companies, Sprint, Verizon, all these companies would spring up in their place. And how does a new company start? They borrow money from the elite. So they wanted AT&T declared a monopoly, so the elite could turn around and lend money to all of these new companies that would get going because AT&T didn't need them anymore. This is just an idea of how the elite bring about their control factor. 1983, I heard when I was at the meetings in the Bahamas, I heard them talking about something that you didn't hear until just the last year or two. Free trade outsourcing. Those seminars in the Bahamas that I was attending, already back in those days, they were training the young elite to take the industry from America to China and India and Mexico, moving it out of this country, taking away your jobs. And already in those days, I was hearing them talking about free trade, outsourcing, before you ever knew what the business was all about. Why did they want to do this? There's a reason. Oh, I hope this will anger you to no end. The elite knew that they had to take their industry abroad. Why? Well, you just heard from the Wall Street Insider. You're going to hear about other facets of how Congress makes money. It all boils down to this. Let's move our factory to China. Now, we'll make our fortune there in China. Then what do we do with that? If we bring it back into America, it falls under the rules of, well, you know the story. So they don't do it. Where do they take that? This was one of the things that was so fascinating in these seminars that I attended. Where do the elite take their money? Well, they move industry abroad intentionally. Oh, I know, they could produce it cheaper in China than they can in America, but what's the real reason behind it all? It's, again, a matter of control of the funds that they were making out there. And where do they put it? Now, if you are super wealthy, you take your money to Liechtenstein. You probably never heard that name. If you are a little bit less than super wealthy, you take your money to the Isle of Man. All this is part of these seminars, where you take your money according to how many millions or billions that you might have. If you are a little less down the line than Liechtenstein and the Isle of Man, you take it to Belize, and you hide it away. And then if you are in the $100,000 range up to $1 million range, you go to the Turks Islands, or, well, then you could go to the Cayman Islands if you're 100 to 200,000. or maybe $1 million. And it all was determined by how wealthy you were as to where you hid your money outside of the United States of America. And industry knew if they moved their plants abroad, that their super wealthy could become super wealthier by making their wealth there. And the young elite were being taught this way back in those days. You ask about the lifestyle of the young elite, or the elite themselves. They're human. I know, they think they're God, but they're really only human. And as a result, you can see why the government officials and others fall for the things that the elite are telling them. Federal Reserve was produced for the sake of the elite. The World Bank and the IMF manage money according to the way that the elite want them to. And of course, you know who the two biggest elitists in the country are. How they dress? Well, who get down to the nitty-gritty of the elite? Not shabby. I don't think I ever saw an elite dressed just haphazardly. I would use one expression if I could, and you and I need to know this expression also. Look the part. Whatever you want to be, look that part. In fact, my family, my wife, my son, and I, when we travel on aircraft, we always dress in a suit with shirt and tie. We dress. Why? We've never failed in good service. Dress the part. Look the part. Whatever you want to be, look that way. The elite, that's exactly the way they look, the way they act. Very professional. I never saw one drunk. I very seldom ever saw one smoke a cigarette. There are some things about the elite that you'll find very interesting, and I hope these simple things about the elite will help you. I learned them as they taught them to me, and I think they can be of help to you. Let me begin with what I saw in those seminars out in the Bahamas and what I heard. The younger elite are chosen. Mr. Clinton was chosen very early in life. People that you see in Washington and hear their names right now, these people are chosen from their college years and younger, and they are taught in these seminars and classes how to enslave the masses. I hope you caught that word. You heard me correctly. They are taught how to enslave the masses. Let me try to explain. I learned many things about the elite. And one of the first things I learned was to listen to their buzzwords. Probably the next most important thing, and by the way, let me pause here long enough to say, any movie that comes out of Hollywood, any liberal news media, any program that I might watch on any given afternoon, I can pick out buzzwords. I have tuned my mind and my ear over 35 years to listening to what these people have to say. And things that the average person would probably never pick up on, immediately they stand out in my mind. The elite. The second thing I learned, the most important thing about the elite, they have a code of ethics. Now, I know this sounds strange, especially when it's coming from a man who's been a minister for 55 years.
Sí.
But the elite do have a code of ethics. Now, their code of ethics is quite different than your code of ethics and my code of ethics. My code of ethics is the Word of God, the Bible.
Pero usted también le dio diarrea, ¿verdad?
Jesus Christ.
No, oh.
And everything that I do
Ay, pero mejor si ve así el estómago. La mañana más.
If at all possible. And I have to overcome the flesh as everyone else does in order to do that.
Mande.
But the elite have a code of ethics also. Their code
Dígame,
of
mami.
ethics, one of the facets of their code of ethics
¿Cómo?
is they must tell you everything they're going to do before they do it. You heard me correctly. They will tell you through Hollywood movies. They will tell you through buzzwords. They will tell you through expressions that you may hear on the national media. But if you know how to tune your ear to listen to what the elite are saying, you will know everything that's going to take place tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now.
Oh, yes.
If you know how to listen to what they're telling you. Many of you remember years ago, George Herbert Bush. Remember he had been the head of the CIA, and then he was sent as ambassador to China, and then he came back to America and was vice president under Reagan, and then he became the president of the United States of America.
El lunes.
An expression later
Mañana 8.
titled New World Order.
8 de octubre.
I understand what he
A
was
las
saying
2:30,
back then?
terapia
No.
física.
I do today.
Mañana.
Because it is influencing
Mañana
your life.
terapia física.
Did he know what he was saying? Did his elitist friends know what he was telling them? You better believe it. They knew 10 years and 20 years down the line. He used to use another expression entitled
Terapia física.
house for supply. Does that mean anything to you? It's to me.
2:30.
Does it today? You better believe it. The elite must tell you what they're going to do
Ya.
before they do it. Now, let me give you an everyday one
Yeah.
that maybe you've thought of and maybe you've never thought about. Social Security. Did you catch it? They did. In fact, when
Una
the
bendición,
Social
ma.
Security system was put in by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, did he know what he was doing? He was the first socialist president of the United States of America. Did he know what Social Security was? Come on now, what is socialism? Socialism is the exact opposite of freedom. Socialism is your formation of a socialistic, communistic system. Is America a socialistic country? No. We are a constitutional republic, and we, the people, tell the government what to do. The government doesn't tell us what to do. We are supposed to be telling the government what to do. Now, what word did they use there? They were telling you, and they were telling me, many, many years ago, where they were headed. Did anybody pick up on it? Oh, we fell for it, didn't we? Well, you might have. I didn't. No, I won't be their slave. You see, I learned something out there in those seminars in the Bahamas. Their young elitists in training are taught to make slaves out of you and me. And they know what they're doing. It is not done by chance. It's done by design. And everything that's happening today is being done by their hand-trained elitists who went to seminars such as I was allowed to go to. Oh, sure. You should have seen those places where we were. Beautiful private beaches where they could play with their girlfriends. The most marvelous foods you could imagine just caught out of the ocean. Everything was upbeat, rich. They trained them well as to what lifestyle they should live and how they should live that lifestyle while you and the taxpayers paid for it. They knew exactly what they were doing. I didn't fall for their line when I heard Social Security. I'm going to admit to you, I am 76 years of age now. I have never accepted a Social Security check. I have never gotten a penny from the federal government that I didn't send them the check back. You heard me correctly. I have gotten some checks from the government. I sent them everyone back, signed with a note saying, keep your dirty, filthy paper. I'm free. I'm with the people. I'll tell you what to do. You're not going to socialize me. I've never accepted a penny from Social Security. I've never accepted a penny from Medicare or Medicaid. I'll take care, and the Lord will take care of me, and He'll take care of you too. And if you will, folks, you must not allow yourself to be enslaved by the elite. They have been taught the methods of enslavement. I know. I sat and listened to them train their young elitists. I want to give you another expression. Social studies. Oh, your children brought home their social studies book from the classroom, didn't they? Did you catch it? Now, I'm training you in the buzzwords of the elite right now. I hope you understand what I'm doing. I'm trying to help you think. Social studies. What was it years ago when I was a boy and I was in school? What did they call it? They called it history. What is it today? It's social studies. Did you get it? The elite were telling you something. Did it register? They want you to be one world. No more United States of America. No more Constitution. No more Republic. You can't be independent anymore. You've got to fall into line with the new world order and the United Nations. And don't you dare try to be we the people anymore. We're going to make you we the sheeple. I have a word for them. I have no intentions in being a sheep in the hands of the elite. I learned their thought patterns and their ways early in life. And when they put in social studies in school, I said, oh, people, I hope you understand what they've done to you. And they told you what they were doing. Did you get it? They changed the word from history to social studies, socialism. The elite wrote the textbooks. And they're training your children into public schools. I homeschooled my children. I taught them the difference between socialism and social studies and true history. Are you getting the words? Are you understanding what they're doing to you? The first communist president of the United States of America was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Social security. Social programs of every type. The elite are taking away your constitutional republic. And in its place, they've given you a democracy. You ask any politician today, what form of government is the United States of America? What does he say? A democracy. I asked one the other day, or I should say a while back in a public meeting where I was, and right here, right from our state, and I said, what form of government do we have? And he said, a democracy. No, you don't have a democracy in the United States of America. You find anywhere in the Constitution of the United States of America that ever says we're a democracy. Read Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, and you'll find out that it says the federal government must guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government. They have taken away your republic. They've given you a democracy, and it was done beginning many, many years ago. The elite have taken away your currency. I hope you realize what they've done to you. You don't have a quarter anymore. You have a phony piece of metal. What was a quarter? It was 1/4 of a dollar. What was a dollar? 1 ounce of silver. What have they given you today? A funny piece of phony metal that you look around the outside and you see a circle. Didn't you get the message when they put that piece of phony stuff out there? Did it not register with you that they had taken away your silver from your quarter, from your $half dollar? And then you couldn't go to the bank and get the silver dollar anymore. Why? They had to take away the value. And they had to give you a piece of paper in exchange. A piece of paper? What good's that paper? It doesn't even have redeemable anymore by silver and gold. Now the Federal Reserve is not even an agency of the government of the United States of America. It is a private corporation that has literally taken over our currency in this country. The elite have taken away your God. Yes, you heard me correctly. They had to. You've heard me tell this before on radio shows and in other DVD presentations I've made, but they have a plan to remove the God who made America great. And the only way that they could bring in their new world order was to remove the God that had made America great from our society. They took the Ten Commandments off the courthouse steps. They removed the Bible from the classroom. They had to remove righteousness and God from our society before they could bring in their new world order. So, you would say, well, wait a minute now, Chaplain, you say that the elite are trained to make us slaves? We're not slaves, you say. Oh, yes, you are. You're already a slave, and you don't know it. Let me prove it to you. 48% of all Americans receive some form of money from the United States government every month. You say you're not a slave? The people in Greece thought they weren't a slave either. But you see what's happening over there. You say, well, wait a minute. What are you talking about? You're a farmer? They give you a farm subsidy. What is it? It's a form of enslavement. It's a way of bribery. It's a method of the elite doing what they want to do with you. Food stamps? Oh, but you, wait a minute. I deserve those. No, you don't. It is a method of enslavement. You say, well, welfare, Social Security, or maybe you get a paycheck because you're working for the government, federal or state. Medicare, Medicaid, 48% of all people in the United States of America receive some sort of check or payment from the United States government on any given month. Now we come around to voting in November. How are you going to vote? I've got to vote for the president that's going to make sure I get my food stamps and my welfare and my Social Security. And whoever says I'm going to get my handout from the government, you say, I'm a slave? You see, all of this was taught. The younger elite are taught one thing: how to enslave you. Now, I'm going to coin a word here. The name of the game is control. I want to take the word control and deal with it for a moment, if I may. One of the things that I remember learning in those seminars that I attended out in the Bahamas, and one thing that I learned from the elite when I lived with them is control everything, own nothing. Now, let me try, if I can, to explain somewhat. And then I'll come down to the punchline. And then you'll say, oh my goodness, all of a sudden a light turned on, and I'm beginning to see it.